In this video, we take a look at the events that took place in the American state of Tennessee. On September 2, 2022, 34-year-old Eliza Fletcher, a kindergarten teacher and mother of 2 children, left her home in Memphis for a morning jog. Eliza did not return home, and after police were notified of her disappearance, an investigation was launched that caused a large public outcry.
Eliza Fletcher.
Eliza Fletcher.
Eliza Fletcher.
Eliza Fletcher.
Eliza Fletcher.
Eliza Fletcher.
Of Memphis mother and teacher Eliza Fletcher.
The case was brought to a close a few days ago. Eliza Welford Fletcher was born on November 9, 1987, in Memphis, Tennessee. Following graduation from the Hutchinson School in 2006, Eliza played soccer for the University of Memphis and later completed her undergraduate education at Baylor University. She received a master's degree in teaching from Belmont University. She devoted her work and boundless childlike energy to her students at Promise Academy and later her junior kindergarten students at St. Mary's Episcopal School. As with everything Eliza took on, she nurtured and cared for her students with her whole heart. A strong believer in the importance of personal growth, she was not afraid to be vulnerable. To the contrary, she embraced it. A born athlete, Eliza's passion for sports extended from childhood teams to collegiate competition to excellence in marathons in adulthood. She found great joy in her morning runs with friends. She channeled her competitive nature into enthusiastic participation in all that she undertook. Eliza was an accomplished runner who completed the St. Jude Marathon in Memphis with a time of 3 hours, 26 minutes, and 9 seconds, qualifying her for the Boston Marathon, a prestigious event among marathon runners. Above all else, Eliza's most cherished role was that of wife and mother. She first met her husband, Richard James Fletcher, at Second Presbyterian Church. They were married March 8, 2014. The couple had 2 sons. On Friday, September 2, 2022, Eliza started her day the way she started many other days, with a morning run. She left the house at about 4 a.m. Eliza's family became concerned when she did not return from her jog at the expected time. Her husband, Richard, reported her missing around 7:45 a.m. after realizing that she had not returned home and that she was not answering phone calls or texts. Police immediately launched an investigation. First of all, the investigators talked to all members of Eliza's family. They needed to reconstruct the chronology of events leading up to her disappearance, and they also needed to make sure that there were no contradictions in the testimony of the family members. Authorities quickly ruled out the possibility that Eliza's husband or any other member of her family was involved in the disappearance. After figuring out which route Eliza was running, investigators retraced her path and began collecting surveillance footage. They released a still image of Eliza. Her description is 5 foot 6 inches tall, 137 pounds, with blonde hair and green eyes. She was last seen wearing a pink jogging top and purple-blue running shorts and had her hair in a bun. That same day, after reviewing other surveillance footage, investigators determined that Eliza had been abducted near the University of Memphis. She often jogged in the area and never had any personal safety issues. But this time, according to police, Eliza was abducted by a man, forced her into his vehicle, and drove away. The suspect was in a dark-colored SUV and was traveling westbound on Central Avenue. Eliza's cell phone was found smashed. The phone and a water bottle were found near where she was abducted. Police released an image of the SUV and asked anyone with any information that could help the investigation to contact police. Authorities later released some details about the kidnapping. Here's what the police report says about it. Security video from the scene showed a black GMC Terrain passing and then waiting for the victim to run by, according to the document. A male exited the car, ran toward Fletcher, and forced her into the passenger seat. During this abduction, there appeared to be a struggle. The Champion Slide sandals were found in this area. The vehicle then sat in the parking lot with the victim inside for approximately 4 minutes before it drove off. Sandals found at the scene were sent to a lab, where experts were to test them for a sample of the perpetrator's DNA. The day after the abduction, September 3rd, Eliza's family issued a statement and offered a $50,000 reward for information that would help bring Eliza home.
My name is Mike Keeney, and I am the uncle of Eliza Fletcher. On behalf of Liza's family, her husband Richie, her children, her mom Adele, her father Beasley, her brother Gil, and all the members of her family, we want to make a brief statement. We want to start by thanking everyone for their prayers and outpouring of support. Liza has touched the hearts of many people, and it shows. We want to thank the Memphis Police Department, Shelby County Sheriff Department, TBI, FBI, and all of the other law enforcement agencies who are working tirelessly to find Liza. The family has met with police, and we have shared with them all the information we know. More than anything, we want to see Liza returned home safely. The family has offered a reward for any information that leads to her safe return. We believe someone knows what happened and can help. If you have any information on this crime or Liza's location, call the police at 901.
Meanwhile, police were searching for the dark SUV. They found some more surveillance footage, and later some of the footage was released to the public. This footage, according to the police statement, shows the suspect in the kidnapping of Eliza Fletcher cleaning the interior of his car. From the statement, it can be understood that at this point, Eliza was no longer in the kidnapper's vehicle, but somewhere else. Authorities seized a trash can where the suspect had dumped the products he used to clean the interior of the car. They could be a key piece of evidence. On the same day, September 3rd, Memphis police announced that a vehicle of interest had been located, and they had detained its driver for questioning. The sandals that the perpetrator lost during Eliza Fletcher's abduction were the source of the DNA sample. When forensics entered the DNA profile into the database, they got a name. 38-year-old Cleotha Abston was the man who abducted Eliza. He had a criminal record and was released from prison about 2 years ago. Cellular records obtained by investigators are alleged to have determined that Abston's cell phone was near the site where Fletcher was forced into the vehicle. Abston was previously sentenced to 24 years in prison after pleading guilty to kidnapping a man named Kemper Durand on May 26, 2000. Abston was a teenager at the time. Court documents state that Abston kidnapped Durand at gunpoint and forced him into the trunk of a car. He then forced Durand to withdraw money from an ATM. Durand escaped when he got the attention of a Memphis Housing Authority guard while he was withdrawing the cash. In a victim impact statement, Durand said he felt extremely lucky that I was able to escape from the custody of Cleotha Abston. I had been taken from the trunk of my car, where he and his co-defendant had placed me for a number of hours, and made to drive to the MAPCO station. The purpose was that I was to use my ATM card to get cash for Cleotha Abston. It was very fortunate that an armed, uniformed Memphis Housing Authority guard happened to come into the MAPCO station, he wrote in the statement. It is quite likely that I would have been killed had I not escaped. Durand, a criminal defense lawyer who died in 2013, said he believed that Abston felt absolutely no remorse. The court documents also show that Abston had a lengthy criminal record dating to 1995. The charges included theft, aggravated assault, evading arrest, and a rape charge in 1998. Abston was released from the Tennessee Department of Correction in November 2020. Although the kidnapper was arrested, Eliza Fletcher's whereabouts remained unknown because Abston remained silent. Evidence found in his car unfortunately indicated that Eliza was no longer alive. Although Abston had thoroughly cleaned the interior of his SUV, forensics found traces of Eliza's blood. Abston was charged with kidnapping and tampering with evidence. He was also charged with unrelated offenses of identity theft, theft of property, and credit card fraud, police said. At the time of arraignment, the judge set bail at $500,000. Abston told the judge he couldn't afford a lawyer, and a public defender was appointed. Meanwhile, police were doing their best to find Eliza. She was abducted on the morning of Friday, September 2nd. On Monday, September 5th, 2022, authorities held a press conference to confirm the worst fears for those worried about Eliza Fletcher's fate.
Good morning. Today is a very sad day in the city of Memphis. First, I'd like to express our sincere condolences to the family, friends, and numerous others who have been impacted by the tragic and heinous kidnapping of Eliza Fletcher. Yesterday evening, September 5th, at approximately 5:07 p.m., the Memphis Police Department and other law enforcement partners discovered the remains of a human body, in the rear of a vacant duplex apartment at the 1600 block of Victor Street. At that time, it was believed the unidentified body could possibly be the remains of kidnapping victim Eliza Fletcher. Further forensic investigation by the MPD traffic unit positively identified the body was, in fact, Eliza Fletcher. This finding marked the culmination of a 4-day intensive investigation incorporating a robust search and rescue effort and the timely arrest of suspect Cleotha Abston on September 3rd, the day following the kidnapping.
Eliza's body was found in the grass near this abandoned house on Victor Street. Tire tracks were found in the driveway that matched the tires on Abston's car. Here's what this place looks like on Google Maps. However, news reports show that at the time of the crime, this abandoned house was surrounded by tall grass.
Now, people we talked to believe these neglected properties can draw crime. Take a look here. You can see just how high this grass is in some parts right in front of this house. In some areas, 7 feet tall or even higher. And people we talked to, they want it gone.
In some places, the grass was as tall as a man, and it was a good place to hide the evidence of the crime. After Eliza's body was found here, journalists began asking locals if they had seen anything suspicious. Some of the people interviewed by the journalists said that even before Eliza's body was found, they repeatedly called the city hall and asked for the grass to be mowed, but the city authorities did not take any action. After Eliza's body was found, Abston was charged with additional charges, including first-degree murder and first-degree murder in the perpetration of kidnapping. The judge revoked the $500,000 bail set earlier when Abston was originally charged. The judge also ruled the court will recognize the suspect's legal surname as Henderson. Since even the prosecutor's reports list his name as Cleotha Abston, I will hereinafter refer to this man as Cleotha Abston. I just want to warn you that some sources list him as Cleotha Henderson. After proceeding, Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy deflected a reporter's question about what punishment he'd pursue if Abston is convicted. A first-degree murder conviction carries sentences of life in prison with or without parole, or the death penalty. It is premature for us to discuss right now what punishment we're going to seek, Mulroy said, outside the courtroom. Eliza's tragic death came as a shock to her family and all who knew her. Hundreds of people came to the funeral ceremony held on September 10, 2022, 5 days after the police announced the discovery of the body. The ceremony was held in the same church where Eliza had married 8 years earlier. The death of a loved one is something no one is ready for, but finding out that they were murdered after abduction is a terrifying feeling. It takes a toll on people's mental health as they struggle to accept the heartbreaking truth. Now it's time to remember and celebrate how special she was and to support those who cared so much for her. We appreciate all the expressions of love and concern we have received. We are grateful beyond measure to local, state, and federal law enforcement for their tireless efforts to find Eliza and to bring justice to the person responsible for this horrible crime, Eliza's family said. We are heartbroken and devastated by this senseless loss. Eliza was such a joy to so many. Her family, friends, colleagues, students, parents, members of her Second Presbyterian Church congregation, and everyone who knew her, the statement reads. At St. Mary's Episcopal School, the faculty and staff started the day in chapel and lit candles in Eliza's memory, the school said in a Facebook post. On September 9, 2022, hundreds of people gathered to complete the marathon that Eliza had left unfinished. They started running at 4:20 a.m. to honor Eliza, who was abducted around the same time. Event organizer Danielle Heineman said, "We're just here today to run in honor of Eliza, and also to show that women in this city have a right to run at 4 o'clock in the morning, or 10 at night, or any time of the day. In her memory, Eliza's supporters wore bright-colored clothes to walk, jog, and run. They believed women weren't obliged to cover their bodies entirely and had the right to go out whenever they wanted. According to an autopsy report, the 34-year-old teacher and mother of two died from a single gunshot wound to the head. There are two semicircular defects to the skull consistent with a single gunshot to the head, with the bullet traveling in a posterior to anterior, back to front, and right to left direction, the report said. Although no projectile was recovered from her body, a shell casing was found near where her body was discovered. In addition to the gunshot wound, Eliza suffered blunt force injuries, including bruises on her right thigh and jaw fractures. These injuries were consistent with blunt force trauma, but did not indicate any overt evidence of sexual assault. As authorities prepared for the trial, it was revealed that Cleotha Abston had assaulted another woman the year before he kidnapped Eliza. Abston could have been arrested, thus preventing the attack on Eliza Fletcher, but unfortunately, due to poor funding, the system failed, and Abston remained at large. The incident in question occurred on September 21, 2021. The woman, whose name is Alicia Franklin, went to the police and reported that she and Abston met on a dating app in 2021 and agreed to have dinner. They had discussed exchanging love for money beforehand, but had no plans to make intimate contact that very night. According to Alicia Franklin, when she arrived at Abston's apartment, he put a gun to her neck and forced her into his car, where he forced her to please him even though she was against it. After Abston let her go, Alicia contacted police. Police reports said there were no visible injuries on her body, but samples of male DNA were found. How long do you think it took to analyze these DNA samples? The incident occurred on September 21, 2021, and the test results came back on September 5, 2022, which is almost a year later. By that time, Abston had been arrested for the murder of Eliza Fletcher. The news quickly sparked outrage among state leaders and victim advocates, demanding that officials fix how the state processes assault kits. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee expressed regrets and said authorities would expedite additional funds to hire 25 additional staff at the forensic lab to speed up the process of testing samples. While there is absolutely more to do, I am pleased that we are able to take this additional step towards eliminating this backlog. We have to get these violent criminals off the streets and keep them off, said Senate Speaker Randy McNally. Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland has come out in defense of the Memphis Police Department and its actions. When asked if MPD botched the investigation, Strickland said, "I don't know the details. It's an active investigation. The mayor should not get down in the weeds on the investigation." Cleotha Abston was eventually indicted in the case just days after he was arrested in the death of Eliza Fletcher. Alicia Franklin is suing the city of Memphis, accusing the Memphis Police Department of failing to investigate what happened to her properly and with due diligence. She stated that she had suffered physical and emotional injuries that required ongoing medical and psychiatric treatment. She's seeking unspecified damages. The lawsuit also claims investigators did not take physical evidence from the crime scene when they arrived. Alicia Franklin also sued the Lakes at Ridgeway. The woman claimed the apartment complex had no security, allowing Abston to lead her to an empty apartment and assault her. In that lawsuit, she is seeking $2 million in damages. In that lawsuit, she hinted that the attack on her was not the first crime committed in that empty apartment. The apartment that Abston used to lure plaintiff away from her car was vacant and was accessible for Abston to use for criminal activity, the lawsuit read. The woman also asserted in the court filing that Henderson had approached other women at the complex and made lewd and inappropriate comments to them, but the property managers did nothing to ask Abston to leave. On April 12, 2024, Cleotha Abston was found guilty in the Alicia Franklin case. On May 17, 2024, he waived his right to a sentencing hearing and agreed to a maximum sentence of 8 decades behind bars on all counts. The sentence breaks down to 40 years for the 20 years for the kidnapping, and 20 years for the gun charge, all to run consecutively. Judge Lee Coffey said when determining that the sentence would run consecutively for the counts, he took into account Abston's long criminal history and several disciplinary incidents while he has been in custody, including indecent exposures and possessing drugs and weapons. By waiving the sentencing hearing, the judge said Abston will not be able to appeal his sentence, but can still appeal the trial and verdict itself in the Franklin case. This week, on Monday, October 28, 2024, it was revealed that Cleotha Abston was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in the Eliza Fletcher case. Here's what the statement released by the district attorney's office said. Today, the man accused in the brutal abduction and murder of Memphis schoolteacher and mother of two, Eliza Fletcher, pled guilty to multiple charges, including first-degree murder, aggravated kidnapping, and tampering with evidence. Cleotha Abston was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, bringing a formal end to a case that has deeply shaken the community. The resolution was made with the support of Mrs. Fletcher's family. Today's agreement achieves finality for the family. The defendant gives up his right to appeal so there won't be years and decades of appeals. It also helps the community because this dangerous person will never again walk our streets. He will die in prison. Uni Ganguly, a lawyer for Abston, told the New York Times he advised Abston to accept the plea deal due to overwhelming evidence against him. Ganguly told the Times a jury likely would have sentenced Abston to death. District Attorney Steve Mulroy read a statement from Fletcher's family addressed directly to Abston. "We have no idea what happened to you to turn you into someone so filled with a desire to hurt people. Whatever it was, it does not excuse or explain what you have done. You have changed our lives forever, and nothing will ever be the same. Your actions were evil. There is no other word for it. You murdered Liza, even though she did nothing to deserve it. She did not hurt you. In fact, she would have been the first to help if you needed it.